1360 WLBK. Welcome to the DARA radio show presented by the DeKalb Area Rental Association, an organization of rental property owners and managers united to promote safe and quality housing, fair business practices, and the preservation of property rights. Two landlords are with us today to discuss current issues affecting rental housing in DeKalb. They are Jim Mason of Mason Properties, Ombudsman for DARA, and Brad Rubick of College Housing Group and Information Director for DARA. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Welcome to the WLBK airwaves again. Now today, the DARA show has been on for a couple weeks now, and for the first time, we'd like to accept phone calls. If you have any questions about DARA or the rental issues facing the city of DeKalb, feel free to give us a call at 815-748-1360. 748-1360. Again, we're taking those calls at any time. So if you have any questions about what's been discussed on past shows, or as we're talking about things today, you can give us a call to the studios, and our members of DARA will answer the questions for you. 815-748-1360. Now, DARA and its constituents have voiced their concerns with proposed licensing and inspections. But even more of a concern to the group is the limited foundation for promoting this proposal within the DeKalb city government. Brad, what is the city government's reason for promoting these ordinances?
Well, Scott, it's amazing how much time, money, and energy has been invested in these proposed ordinances without real strong supporting data. Health and safety is their reason for promoting the ordinance. But due to the real detriments of the rental property business, DeKalb, we believe the logic must be sound to even consider such a drastic change. I mean, health and safety really is a vague argument at best without more data to support that. Jim?
Well, it's interesting. A thought that I've had is where and why does any city think that they have the power to take over all facets of life in America or in a city? 50 years ago, the Warren Court, Supreme Court, decided that health and safety, in many ways, was more important than personal liberties. Well, now we have home rule in our community, and 7 aldermen and a mayor can decide, using health and safety as their Trojan horse, to let the city take over the largest enterprise in DeKalb, which for the most part is one of the finest housing stocks in northern Illinois or maybe the country. The question, without probable cause, how can health and safety applied to necessitate licensing and inspections without necessity? How can government find the need to violate people's rights to unreasonable search and seizure? Brad?
And so perhaps one of the things to get some data behind this before going forward to this, and maybe seeing what other communities have seen as a result of licensing and inspections.
Yeah, in this case, the city of DeKalb has done that. I understand that they believe they've gone, the city staff and some council members have taken a trip to Des Plaines to learn more, and I think that's a great idea. You want to understand the effectiveness of licensing and inspection in other communities. I haven't seen any official report or the supporting information. I do believe Des Plaines officials said crime statistics have gone down, so that may have promoted more interest within the city with regards to this issue. But that's really about all I know.
And do you guys in DARA, do you find that sufficient, this evidence from the city of Des Plaines?
Well, once again, the detriment that this could cause the rental property business in DeKalb is real. So the reasons for promoting license and inspection should be solid. I just want to emphasize that. Even in another town, if it's promoted and been successful, it doesn't mean that it's going to be successful here or elsewhere. There are just too many differences in these two communities for this particular situation. So, Des Plaines, the population's declined actually from 2000 to 2010, where in DeKalb the population has increased over 20% over that same period of time. Not only that, Des Plaines only has 2,500 rental units, or 25% of its housing stock, versus DeKalb with 8,000. So that's over 3 times as many units and 55% of its housing stock. So it's a much bigger impact. Des Plaines' housing stock not only is it less, but there's less than 10% of the housing has been built after 1990. So it's older, much older. DeKalb's housing stock is around 32% was built after 1990. So, the differences are big. And finally, it's not a university town. There's some major differences there as well.
Jim, perhaps something DARA would like them the city to do is maybe go to several cities and get data from several cities.
Yes, a more comprehensive study. But once again, the ordinance cannot provide effectiveness if it only addresses one of the 3 cities' reasons for license and inspections. Homeowners and bankers and property owners are not even being addressed in these ordinances. Go ahead.
So this is a big concern. They've emphasized over and over again that the 3 reasons are absentee landlords that are not addressing their issues, their homeowners who are not maintaining their properties, and bank-owned properties and foreclosures. So those are the reasons, and yet the license proposal is only addressing one of those 3, so it sort of implies that homeowners are next in line to experience some of these similar restrictions on our property rights.
And in addition to the effectiveness of the ordinances, the actual data, you probably also want to look at the impact the licensing had on the community.
Yeah, back in 2008, the city hired Jim Case to draft these ordinances. A lot of the money was spent to promote this idea, but it never got the support needed by the council. Now, here we are again with the city of DeKalb considering the same ordinances 4 years later. And again, they are paying thousands of dollars to draft these ordinances.
This is the DARA radio program here on 1360 WLBK, talking about issues in the rental community of the city of DeKalb. We are taking your questions. If you have any questions about topics that have been raised on past shows or things we're talking about now at any time, you can give us a call at 815-748-1360. That's 748-1360. Now, Jim, not all members of the Housing Task Force for the city of DeKalb were supportive of licensing and inspection, several raising concerns. Why do you feel the task force members weren't supportive of the idea?
Well, I don't know. The city is attempting to find support and evidence for this concept. And when they don't get the support, they continue to push for it. It seems that the city is not swayed from this position. We're waiting to see.
And Jim, for the task force members that you've talked to, have they been discouraged by the city continuing on with the idea of licensing and inspection?
Yes, they have. They've worked on this for many, many hours, and they've all come to the same conclusion that license and inspection is not the way to go, and that's why we're having this show, so we can get these issues out in the public so everybody can think about it and help the aldermen make the decisions that are appropriate.
Well, no doubt, the efforts and conclusions, if they're not supported, the involvement drops. I mean, we're all the respected community members have put their time in, and they've really done a great job and spent a lot of hours to come up with their conclusions. And when they're not supported, I mean, it's only natural for people to step away and maybe become less involved. And really, we want people in the community to become more involved. I mean, this is a time where we all need to pull together and work with each other. The efforts have been made, and yet when we get to the final run, it just seems to just kind of fall to the wayside.
Jim, you've obviously mentioned that you're not supportive of licensing and inspections. And part of your concerns is that you feel that these ordinances could cost the city much more than what revenue it produces.
Yes, it will take a staff of people and enforce these ordinances, and it would require more employees, more legal work, more administrative, more enforcement. And DeKalb is tight with money right at the present time. So why promote ideas that will create more costs? The only way the new revenue supports this plan is if they charge excessive fees to the landlords. Excessive fees reduce the value of the investor, to the community. Without equity in these properties, many investors would be unable to improve the property to the quality housing that we need.
Yeah, that's a concern. I mean, obviously the idea is to improve the quality of the housing, and yet the negative effects of values dropping means less equity in property, means less ability for landlords to be able to use some of that equity for funds to improve their property. And if the demands are excessive in the extent that the requirements and the upgrades, there may be a lot of landlords that are falling into the category of not complying with the situation. So, you know, and you're looking at that situation overall, the city government, you know, trying to keep control of their costs now. This is a huge, huge growth in city government to create this situation, the additional staff and the workload that goes along with it. So you question the whether the input is greater than the output.
Now, this is something you guys have mentioned on previous shows, but I think it would be a good point to reiterate it. As an alternative to licensing and inspection, are there other programs that DARA would support?
Disorderly house is what we've really spent a lot of time on. The problem in these communities is that the people aren't taking care of their property. Violence and other things are happening in the homes. So what we've done is work for the last year. The three committees have gotten together and recommended to the city this disorderly house concept, which is 3 strikes you're out. Is 3 strikes you're out the way to go? Is it the exact right way to go? I don't really know, but we have to present a game plan that the city can work by and that the citizens can understand. So we're feeling that the disorderly house is appropriate at this time to see if we can clean up the neighborhoods with 3 strikes you're out, some fines and some other ways to work with people to make their homes and their businesses better. But right now we feel that that is the first thing we do before we get into license and inspection.
Now, Bill Nicholas made it pretty clear when he had some discussions during the task force meetings about the layers, the additional layers of government. As well as the fact that, you know, this should be implemented over a period of time. If that's the way they decide to go, it still needs to be regulated over a course of time to see how it develops, how it works out. And the first step is this disorderly house situation that can get a lot of these properties or these situations under control, we're hoping. But to go ahead and add the additional layers right now, we feel is way too excessive and very possibly not necessary. So,
at present, right now, the city council and the university are talking about a study to study the housing in the community. And I got to thinking about it. I really think that the city, if they're going to do a study, they should leave that study up to the developers and let them do their due diligence to see if the community fits their needs. But if you really want to know what license and inspection would do to this community, there should be a study to find out what would the exact effects be, pro and con.
And then I know one of the ideas behind licensing and inspection is to be a revenue generator. With the disorderly house, the city manager has said, well, you know, somebody's going to need to pay for the extra police staff time to interact with the landlords. So if additional revenue isn't being generated through licensing, where could additional revenue be generated through?
Scott, before we talk about additional revenues, we have to go back to where the community came from. When I came here 45 years ago, we had X amount of policemen, and all these things were taken care of. I was talking with the police chief the other day, and I asked him, I said, well, how are you doing with your staffing? He says, we're down 10 to 15 officers. So what has happened, an attrition has taken place over the last years where for some reason they don't hire more policemen, and the money is going someplace else. What I would like to do is see the city put the money back into more policemen, and maybe some of these issues in the neighborhoods might be able to take care of itself with better policing.
Well, enforcement, citations, fines, fees that are associated with the disorderly house will generate revenues. Unfortunately, a lot of the times you may see that they end up not collecting them only because maybe the landlord and or the tenants that are involved in these fees and fines simply don't pay. Understand that they need the revenue or the income to support this idea, but once again, throwing it all together at once without knowing real cost factors involved in enforcing this on the city side just needs a lot more information to get to that point. And I would support Jim and everyone else who say the better approach may be to let's increase the police staff.
And then, go ahead, Jim.
Well, Scott, one other thought. I've done tremendous analysis on this, and there's no way that you could raise enough money to inspect 9,000 apartments. The proposal that is out there right now that you would expect 20% a year, but also the proposal is that the apartment owner or the owner has to pay for the next 4 years before he would or she would be inspected again. So when you take a look at this, we're talking major bucks. In Glendale Heights, they charge $300 to inspect an apartment. Now you take that over 9,000 apartments, you're talking about a lot of money. This community cannot afford it, and I really don't think that the program, even if it was in place with 20% a year, would be able to fund itself.
And for the additional officers, you think would that be setting different priorities as far as existing money to pay for the another 10 officers to bring the staffing up?
Yes, that's the point I'm trying to make. They used to be here. They took care of the neighborhoods. I have my own security system, and I work with the police every day. And a lot of the times they tell me, Jim, we can't stay to help you out with this. We've got more important crime someplace else, which leads me to believe that they don't have enough police. And so the city has to get its priorities straight, put the money back into law enforcement, and I think a lot of this will take care of itself.
We think that the police definitely are a good quality force we have here in DeKalb. We're very proud of them and the things that we support them. Certainly, they're overloaded a little bit. I've had similar experiences where I've come to the police and suggested there's some concerns within my apartments to try to get some things resolved. I was a little discouraged with the fact that they clearly made it known to me that they were stretched thin and would get to it as they could. I know, believe me, we did get some things resolved. I'm very happy about that, but it's a legitimate concern.
One other point that I would like to make, and I've made it in the past to my DARA members in Rockford and down here in DeKalb, is that I firmly believe that the police, even if you had 15 more police, they can't do all the work. We have to do our own policing in our own apartments, and we have to know what's going on. So I've suggested with people that own 2, 3, 4, 10, 15, 20 apartments to get together with other people that have apartments in that neighborhood and get your own set of eyes out in the street and protect your specific property, and then your support to the police, what's actually going on. So every night I have a report of everything that went on my assets, and I know exactly what's going on, and it saved me 90% in vandalism and damages over the last 10 years.
There's some good things that you can do. For instance, years ago we began with parking stickers. And, if you don't have a parking sticker, you can't park in our lots, and that's just the way it is. But what it does is it reduces the big disorderly house situations right off the bat. If people can't come and park in your lot, it reduces the subletters, the illegal subletters, folks who are living there that shouldn't be living there can't do it. So it's really a simple thing to do. Say, okay, to park in the lot, you need a sticker. If you don't, you'll get towed. So some things like that can really improve the quality of the situation.
To add to that, Scott, I started stickering probably 20, 25 years ago. The real reason that I started it was to get rid of drug dealers. What happens is that once we started stickering people and putting it on the back of their car. The drug dealers can't get the sticker, so they wouldn't come into the complexes and deal the way they did. What we have at Mason Properties is quiet lifestyle, drug-free. It's in every contract. And people that want to play that game, they don't come to Mason Properties, and they don't want to be in the parking lots and have their car towed with a stash in it. So these things are things that the people in DARA are doing, and we're making this available to all our members.
This is a DARA radio show presented by the DeKalb Area Rental Association. We're talking with two of its members, Jim Mason of Mason Properties and Brad Rubeck of the College Housing Group. We're also inviting phone calls. We may have somebody on the line now. Hi, you're on 1360 WLBK.
Hello. Thank you for taking my phone call. We bought our home in 1968, and it had an apartment, and it's considered a two-flat. We live in the downstairs, and we rent the apartment on a yearly lease. What does this mean to me?
What does it mean to you? You are a landlord, and
Right.
if you have a lease with this person, you're in total compliance as to this date right now. Are you registered with the city with that tenant?
I'm registered as a two-flat.
Okay. Right now, about 5 years ago, we made part of the handbook that everybody would be registered. The reason we're having people register is for life safety issues. So right now, it seems like you're doing everything right. The only thing is, if you're not registered with the city, just call the city up and you can register with them now for $3 for the unit that you rent. Go ahead.
But the change in the plans in terms of this ordinance situation would create a situation that you would, like every other landlord in town, have to take a crime-free seminar. You would have to do additional items that, Jim, I know you've talked about this a few times. I mean, it's not just the crime-free seminar. You actually will have to have the police come out and survey your property and give you a security certificate to identify things. What else is involved in that? I know that there's a few steps, and you certainly have to register, and you will have to pay, just as every other landlord, a fee and be inspected once every 5 years.
Okay, ma'am, if the disorderly house goes through, or excuse me, license inspection goes through, you'd be required to have a security certificate, which means the police would go through and take a look at your apartment and give you any ideas to make your place safer. Then they would do a survey, then you would register, and then you would be allowed to get a license. So if license and inspection goes through, as the way I have it in the documents that I've received in the city, you'd have 4 steps before you could get a license. Now, the last thing is a license is something that you really don't want to have out there to be in this business, because if the license was ever revoked, you'd probably be in default on your mortgage. You don't want that, because all mortgages and all notes require that all licenses have to be in place and not in dispute. If you got any other questions, ma'am?
How do you give your input on this? I am not for governmental intervention. And how do I give my input? I've already called my alderperson.
That's very good. We're recommending everybody talk to their alderman the best they can. If you'd like to join DARA, you can go on our webpage and join. And we have meetings and classes. I am the ombudsman for this little organization, and I answer as many questions as I can to help people out like you. So who is your alderman?
Brandon Gallagher.
Oh, very good gentleman. Just express to him your concerns, and if we can be any service, we could chat with him too also. But it's nice that you have that dialogue going, ma'am.
Well, in addition to that, you have the right to attend any council meeting and speak for 3 minutes. And we would promote the idea that all the aldermen need to hear from the community. And you could go up and step up to the mic and speak for a few minutes and ask really why you're promoting this license and registration inspection process.
Okay, I am in favor of the disorderly house. My situation is very controlled because we live downstairs and I rent the upstairs. So mine is always under control. So, but I see other places in my neighborhood where I can see where that could be a problem. So anyway, but I thank you for your involvement in all of this, and thank you for answering my questions.
Thanks for your call.
You're welcome. Bye.
All right. Again, this is the DARA Radio Show. We're taking phone calls today. 815-748-1360, 748-1360. Hi, you're on the air.
Good. This is WLBK.
Yes.
Hi. I'm going to listen to this radio program, and I had a couple questions for the everybody there.
Sure.
Well, you need me to tell you the questions in advance here? Or?
You're on the air right now.
Oh, great. Wonderful. I'm interested in two things. One of them is the impact that this would have on the liability. When a city like DeKalb takes on licensing inspection, does it make the liability higher, or does our current liability coverage, would it cover when they come in and inspect, and if someone later on was to get hurt or a porch was to fall off, like happened in Chicago? And then my second question refers to this. Is this just ways to make more work for people, or what do you see this as?
Absolutely, impact on liability would be increased. No question. It's just like when you go in and inspect a property, the city of DeKalb does, and doesn't identify some things that otherwise should have been, the next thing you know, if someone gets hurt, they could certainly include city of DeKalb in the lawsuit. So I can tell you from experience in shoveling snow that an area that we shoveled and pushed a pile of snow in one spot, someone stepped in and slipped, it was our responsibility because we had made some, tried to improve the situation. This is what the city of DeKalb is trying to do. There would be an impact on that. Question number 2 for you, Jim.
Yeah, is it to raise money? You'll have to ask the city what they want to do with raising money. It'll raise your costs substantially, and what it'll do, I say that there's A, B, C, and D, and F housing in America. F housing, you shouldn't live in it. D housing is very bad, but C housing is where most people live. The problem is that if the city comes in and says you got to fix this, this, and this, and this, and this, what they're trying to do is move you from C property to B or A property, and no tenant will pay for it. So it will cost you. You may not get the cost back.
All right. Thank you, sir, for your call.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. We're coming close to an end, but I do want to remind people that if they're interested in learning more about these ordinances or the DeKalb Area Rental Association, they can go to daranow.com. That's DARA now.com. And of course, you guys here are every week. Next week we'll be taking more calls. And Brad, what else you guys have planned?
Well, we're talking about getting a local appraiser in here. He can give us an idea of what the real loss in property value is going to be. These ordinances will take away millions of dollars in value from local investors. So it's a real concern. It reduces the tax base. There are some issues that need to be discussed in that manner.
And just very briefly, some of the information people can find on the website. Again, that's daranow.com, DARA-now.com.
Well, certainly get on there. If you're a landlord in town, I would encourage you to get involved. DARA members enjoy the benefits of education, developing relationships, and ways to run businesses better. There are items on there about the ordinances, licensing, as well as information, a lot of sort of information. So we're continuing to expand that. We're a new organization. We're growing it all the time. Please check us out at daranow.com.
All right, that's Brad Rubik with the College Housing Group, and this morning we've also been talking with Jim Mason of Mason Properties. Thank you for being with us today on the DARA Radio Show. Please tune in next Monday morning at 9:30 as we address more current issues in rental housing. Other members of DARA include Kennington Properties, Lang Management,